Can you hear me, Amasai?
Loud and clear.
Micro time.
We all have local time, don't we?
Nice to have you on, Lafita.
Yes. Happy to meet you all. What just happened?
So people are still coming in as people are flocking in, joining us in this town hall webinar. I just want to say Mbuluvinaka, Talofalava, Half a Day, Maori, and welcome to our 2024 Earth Day celebration here at Utopia, Washington. Today we want to recognize and honor the original occupants and stewards of the land that we're on as we gather here. Many of us are joining this webinar from lands that are the traditional homes of the Koshalish people, the traditional home of all tribes and bands within the Duwamish, Squamish, Tulilip, and the Makushit nations. And if you're very much interested to learn about the original stewards of the land that you currently occupy, you can do so by visiting the website native/lands.ca. You'll find more information about the land that you currently live on, the land that belong to the First Nations or the native people of this land. So today is quite a very important day for all of us as we gather here today. In honor of Earth Day, this webinar will center the theme of co-responsibility or responsibility, focusing on the Pacific region's unique challenges and contributions to global efforts for environmental sustainability, while centering our Melanesian and Micronesian community with folks that are joining us here today. From the rising sea level, biodiversity loss, and food insecurity, Pacific Island communities face the frontline impact of climate change, underscoring the urgent need for very collective action and also our shared responsibility as Tangata Pacifica or as Tangata Moana or as people of this
Recording in progress.
islands and this nation. And it is our responsibility not to just take care of the land, but also to take care of each other and our relationships. And we want to thank all of you for joining us as we commemorate Earth Day. And I know a lot of you have already celebrated Earth Day and really just seeing that a lot of the ways that we cultivate our relationships, whether through climate, whether through food security, whether through gender equality, and all this intersectional work is very important in the way that we are with each other. And it's a great privilege to have with us our two amazing panelists who will be really sharing a lot of their work and a lot of their very much rooted in the way that they are in the current work that they do, from climate to LGBTQI movement or taking care of marginalized communities. With me, I have Levita Levy, who's joining us all the way from Kiribati. Levita is a resilient and passionate transgender woman who is blazing trails in the Pacific region, particularly in the islands of Kiribati. Born and raised on the island waters and the coral atolls of Kiribati, Levita's journey has been of a courage, advocacy, and unwavering dedication to the LGBTQI rights movement in Kiribati. For the past 9 years, Levita has been the forefront of LGBTQI rights work in Kiribati and also the wider Pacific region. She has organized workshops, led awareness campaign, and the pivotal support services to LGBTQI individuals facing discrimination and violence. But also, Levita is an incredible organizer of one of the prestigious trans pageant or Binibinani pageant in Kiribati. And beyond her local work, Levita has played a very pivotal role in supporting various initiatives across Asia Pacific region, collaborating with regional organizations to advance LGBTQI rights on a broader scale. And despite these challenges she has faced, Levita remains under felt that this is a mission to create a world and a space that will really embody LGBTQI people. Sorry, give me 1 minute. Bless you. Oh my gosh, it's the dry throat. Thank you. And Levita, thank you so much for being here with us today. And thank you so much for your work. And second is a sister friend who works very tirelessly in our community. Martina Naich hails from the islands of Chuuk in the Pacific region within the Micronesian region. Currently, she serves as the wellness navigator at the Pacific Islanders Community Association of Washington, a very close sister organization to Utopia Washington. Martina is a proud graduate of the College of Micronesia, FSM, with a degree in business administration. However, her deep recognition of the needs and challenges faced by communities in the Western world has led her to shift her career towards community advocacy. Before taking on her role as the wellness navigator, Martina has been an interpreter, a translator in the medical field at Language Line Solutions, providing interpretation services for patients and clients in the Jeke language and translating various materials. And in her leisure time, you often find her in the football field or in the gym, keeping fit and authentically cheering on her children as they participate in sports. Um, I want to give a big round of applause to both of you for your incredible work, not just in community, but really in every space that you're able to navigate and to do this amazing set of work. So thank you so much. Um, in case I missed anything, would you like to share anything before we get into the conversation? And I ask that if you both uh, will leave your mics unmuted so that we're able to have just a flow of conversation. And also for you lovely folks joining us from afar and from here in the state of Washington, thank you so much for taking your time out to be with us. Um, if you have any questions, there's a section below Q&A. You're able to ask questions and to whoever you want to direct your question to these two amazing panelists. And we're able to, go on and have this flow of conversation. And also, we'll be also sharing some information in terms as we go forth into some incredible initiatives carried out by these two amazing people. And as we know, Earth Day holds a very significant importance for Pacific Islanders living here in diaspora, as much as for folks back home in the islands, as it serves as a reminder for our connection to our homeland and the environmental challenges that we face in our community and also in the Pacific region. For many Pacific Islanders living away from our home or from our ancestral lands, Earth Day provides an opportunity to reconnect with our cultural heritage and reaffirm our commitment to environmental stewardship. So, by observing today's Environment Earth Day, Pacific Islanders in diaspora continue to raise awareness about these environmental issues and advocate for sustainable solution that will really benefit our communities abroad, um, our Matuvale, our Fanos, our Aingas, or families, back home in the region. And we know for so many of us who live here on Turtle Island or here in the US or any part of the continent, we go back home, right? We journey back home to visit families, to visit our land, and to take care of each other. And so, to start off our conversation with our two amazing panelists, can you share any personal stories or experiences that really highlight the immediate impact of climate change in your communities that really affect the livelihood, the cultural practices, or even health? To any of you that want to go first, Martina or Levita.
I can go. My island is an atoll. The island is basically the main source of survival. We grow crops such as taro, breadfruit, banana, and coconut. We farm animals. We also fish. These are our main source of food. We dig the ground for wells and water catchment for water resource. Rainwater is basically used or mainly used for drinking water. We use plants for medicinal purposes and trees to build homes. The impact of climate change include warm temperatures, changes in precipitation, increases in the frequency or intensity of some extreme weather events, and sea level rise. These impacts threatens our health by affecting the food we eat, the water we drink, the air we breathe, and the weather we experience. My island has been affected by multiple sea level rise in the past years, and recently in January, which it destroyed my island's survival resources and causing displacement due to homes being destroyed. And they haven't even recovered from that. The people currently living in poverty and facing health issues due to climate change. Inundation on the island has caused crops to dry up, and with soil salinization, crops are hard to grow and even deformed. People are still in the process of clearing out seawater on the island, like as of right now, which will probably take months or even years for the island to recover from that seawater. Not to mention the health crisis. The aftermath results in growing disease due to water contamination, food poisoning, and starvation.
Lavita, what are some of the experiences that you're seeing in Kiribati? Martina, you raised some very important issues, that are not just affecting the daily livelihood, but really it's everything. It has to do with our bodies. It has to do with the way that we are with each other. Medicine, we as indigenous people, we also rely on, natural herbs or medicine to take care of ourselves when we feel sick or when we don't always have the access or the services to healthcare. And a lot of us really tend to use traditional methods to take care of ourselves. Farming, it's not just, it's both plant in land and also farming animals, fish in the sea. And, one of the things we currently also see in Fiji is that there are no more fishes to see out in the, by the ocean closer. Now, women and people have to go further out in the ocean to fish, and a lot of these fishes are becoming extinct as well. Levita, what does it look like for folks in Kiribati, particularly LGBTQI people, that sustaining their livelihood and also sustaining the way that we preserve our cultural practices to also to take care of our health in Kiribati?
Yes, well, like in Kiribati, I think the same matters with my sister from Duke, as mentioned earlier. It's like our medicines are all based on our plants, and the same in here. And the impact of climate change to my community in here, it's like as I mentioned earlier, it's about collecting the water from the far place, especially when the sea level rise and floods all the island. And then what comes next, it's the salty water. And from there, most of our trans and women's, their job is to go and collect the water from the far place and bring it to the home. So I think that's one of the crises that we faced, trans and women's in our island. I know that in the Micronesia or only in Kiribati, their job is to go get fish, catch fish from the water, they bring it back home, and the rest job, cooking and cleaning the fish and everything, women's and trans. Now, trans in Kiribati are equal as women's. I'm happy with that. And yes, we're really affected by the climate change, especially with sea level rise. It's a big issue in here. Most of the islands in the end, from the northern side, have been flooded like months ago, and also in the northern island. Luckily in Tarawa, we have plenty of tanks to save water from the cloud, the rainwater. But in Outer Highland, they don't have any tank. So what they drink, the well water. And when the flood comes, what they drink, no water. And most of their water they collect from the far place. And it affects us, especially trans and women, to go and collect the water. That's the side effect of the climate change in our micro or in Kiribati. I think I'm more under the my sister from Duke issues. And that's all for me.
Thank you, Levita, and thank you, Martina. And I think also we can also think about, even within the political climate movement, whether we're in the Pacific region or whether here. I think too often for me, I think about our regions, that the fight for climate is very personal to who we are and to how we are in the movement as well. And I think too often we don't talk about the uncomfortable conversation within our climate movement. That I think, Martina, you can also highlight on this is too often folks that live in the Micronesian region are sometimes left out in very important conversation to do about survival for our islands, the survival for our lands. That is very rooted in the way that we are with each other as Pacific Island people. But also at times we also tend to forget that we need to also name people that are even further marginalized within marginalization. And do you feel like, too often, as much as the climate movement work is building and going, representing the Pacific region, do you feel at times as folks down in the Micronesian region feel like not a lot of your stories and narratives are shared within the climate movement or within the climate spaces?
That's true. Especially being that where I come from, it's a very small island, not even known on the map. Whatever is happening on the island, it's not known out here where we are. That's why, like, it really saddens me, and it's very personal to me when things like this happen back home, because I know, like, the struggle that they go through, they're just very fragile. Even like when it happens on the, like, for example, when we have the reoccurrence of sea level rise, it's been happening like for the past couple years. It's been happening like I would say like 5 times within the past years, and nothing happened for not even within our government level to even support people from my island. This is why, like, for myself, I'm crying out loud for the people of my island, because I know the struggle they're going through, especially with starvation and displacement. Some of the people, they go to the main island of Chuuk to get supplies to build house. And when the water destroys their house, like, it's really hard for them to go back to get supplies, because to travel from my island to the main island of Chuuk, it takes 1 whole day by ship. And the ship comes to the outer islands even once a month, if it sometimes once in 2 months. So it's really hard to get supplies, to get food when these kind of crisis happens.
Yeah, and I agree with you, like, totally. The things that a lot of our families that live in the island have to go through, but also a lot of us as well. Those of us that live here, in diaspora on Turtle Island, that the amount of support that is given back and forth through remittance I think too often we talk about the support always going out, and not too often we highlight and even talk about the the toll that it puts on our bodies. Those of us that live here who have to, send stuff home, but also taking into consideration that we take care of ourselves, we take care of the community that we live in, and then we have to take care of everybody. So for us is our Wubale, our Ainga, our family, and what we are in that system is very much who we are as Pacific Island people. And Levita, one of the things in Kiribati now that you also highlighted, just women and trans women particularly have to go further out to fetch for water. And I know that even for people that live um, in uh, that live on the island who depend on very much imported processed foods, which is mostly high in fat, high in sugar, high in salt, and it's really contributing to the uncommunicable diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, heart and lung diseases that we don't often talk about, but is very much linked to the inequalities of the impacts of climate. Um, what do you think about in terms of the role of, youth and our future generation to play a very important part in shaping resiliency, or resilient strategies and advocating for sustainable development in your community?
Well, I will like I believe in that. Most of my our people are based on their needs. Like I remember one of our first president's quote. It says like our lives are simple and our needs are few. And that's quote. It's because in our Kiribati we can get many foods as we can from the water and from the land, and those foods are healthier. And now we depend our lives on food that comes from overseas. And I will encourage all my young leaders or young generations to to take back their heart to where they belong. And I also encourage all the women to start planting trees, especially for like the healthy ones. And we also use here tenoni or tenon, the 100% like trees in the Pacific, and we believe in that. And most of the women's in here or the communities from the Roman Catholic, they 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 do their outreach, like going out to outer highlands and teach them how to cook and use our own like plants, our homemade something. And yes, Messiah, is there any? Am I answering your question or?
What do you feel like, or what do you know that, the role that young people play, whether it be LGBTQI people, youth, play a very important role to sustain our movement, to sustain in like building strategies around resilience. For us, climate is not one thing that will stop us from fighting. Our fight is very rooted in the way that we are with each other, that we want to live on our island. We don't want to leave our islands for somewhere else because we are connected and we're connected to the way to our families and community.
That's true.
And I know a lot of the amazing work that young people are doing in Kiribati that are addressing these issues. What is your take on that as well? Like young people, they are leaders not just tomorrow, but they are leaders now. Martina?
Um, I think it's very important to empower youth, which is very crucial for sustainable development, because young people not only represent demographic force, but also embody the innovation, energy, and resilience necessary to tackle global challenges such as the climate change and poverty. I know there's a committee in SPEAC that was formed to implement locally managed marine area to reduce threat of coral reefs, such as overfishing, coral and sand removal, and commercial harvesting, especially with the coral and sand removal, because some in the community, they also use these to build house. You know, it's also a daily need, especially like keeping their property, should I say this? Keeping their property clean and all that. They also collect corals, not corals, but I think it is corals. Those, especially this is I'm talking about for the outer islands. You know, those tiny rocks by the seawater, and also sand to build homes.
Thank you. One of the things that I'm so amazed about, and so proud of, as a trans person, as a Vaksana Lewa, is that a lot of the young people back home, that are fighting the good fight, and we see them not just that are doing a lot of the work in the ground on the islands, but are also lining that work in the region, at the national level, globally as well. I'm amazed at every conference of parties or COP climate gathering. You see a lot of young people from the Pacific region marching and protesting. And I think one of the, just for a lot of policy nerds in here, the Pacific region has been fighting at the global level a lot on policy around loss and damage. Loss and damage is particularly to look at the effects of climate, something that is lost that cannot be brought back, something that is damaged that cannot be replaced. And so the Pacific has been fighting for more than 30 years to have this specific policy or tax within the climate agreements to then protect Pacific Island countries from the direct impact that a lot of the finances on climate through the Green Climate Fund that is no longer coming into the Pacific region, because countries like America that takes control over these finances and really decide on whether countries in small island states or Pacific region particularly should even get this funding to help rebuild, to help sustain and build resiliency for a lot of our communities. And and I think also, Tarita, you are a council member in Kiribati, and you're also working towards your way into becoming a member of parliament. How has been that journey for you, being part of that work, knowing that as a trans person, but also as Binibinaine in Kiribati, what has that work been, and in terms of the way that you've navigated systems that not always work for a lot of us that are queer and trans?
Yes, like I'm gonna take back the things to the begin to my sister from Jude, and I believe that the climate change affects us, and also I think in our island, the government is no believe in that climate change, and that's why America, as in response to all the give out the grants or the funds to our highland, because of that, the president of Kiribati is not in believing in that matters. Not like the or the former president, Mr. Hanote Tong, is the fighter and is the great warrior for the climate change. And now our president is because he wants his own role to play, so he ignores Hanote's movement and everything for climate change, and he puts his own way that climate change will never affect our lives, but it's not. It's still happening now, and the problem in Kiribati now are still like making like the members of the parliament always amend the bill on rebuilding the houses for people that they lost their home during the climate change, but the government have no funds for that. And why not ask America or another countries or big hands continent to give their hand? Why not? Because he's not a believer. Our president is no belief in that. And for me, I think it is better for me to enter the parliament and to become one of the members of the parliament. It's because I want all my sides, or my people to be heard by the people of Kiribati, and to shout loud to the people that we trans can do better and can bring good hand to the people, because we trans we have the ladies' heart, like we love to share, we love to care, everything. All the trans have those kind of equipment. So what we need to do, we need to work on the menu to enter that chair or that place.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of us, it takes a lot of people to really support not just the work that you're doing, but really building on the lived experiences of trans people that work so hard to be recognized in your different communities. Martina, what are one of the biggest challenges in your community? I know you've spoken about it a lot, but also, that are responding to climate change, and what support or resources would be most helpful in addressing these challenges. And I also really want you to take a time in highlighting one of the greatest work that all of you, within your community, especially also through Pikawa, that are having this fundraiser that you can talk about, that's really supporting islands back in the Micronesian region.
I also wanted to piggyback off of what Lafita had shared about the government, because that's something that's also similar within our community. With the recent sea level rise that happened in January in my island, there was a new bill that the government of Chuk actually worked on regarding to support climate change. But I reached out to a couple folks and was heard back that it wasn't approved, and which it just breaks my heart, because I feel like the people that didn't approve the bill have no idea how people from the outer islands suffer because of climate change. Some of the challenges to the people of my island is the inaccessibility of resources. Being that we're very far away from the island, it's very hard to transport goods between the main island and to the outer islands. And also the lack of attention to critical disasters that's happening within the region. I think these are very important aspects that needs attention within the government and even the higher level of government, to pay attention to.
Yeah. And I also want you to really talk about the work, what kind of support or resources would be most helpful to address these issues, particularly in your village. And I know you shared about that. And it's amazing, with the amount of people here that can share those resources and flyers, and we're able to share that as well. Would you like to talk more about that initiative?
Sure, and thank you for that opportunity. With the recent sea level rise in my island, the First Jekes of Washington Women Association and PICA have partnered up to host a fundraiser or a relief drive for to support the people of the island. This is a work that we've established after the sea level rise that happened in January. It's been ongoing. There's a flyer that was printed out by our comms person here at the Pacific Islander Community Association. There it is. So on this flyer, we're doing a flood disaster relief for the island of Lequimioch, which is located in the outer island of Chuuk. There's a list of goods that we ask, which are rice, flour, soap, batteries, flashlights, and any personal hygienes. There's also a monetary donation online. All of these, 100% of this donation will go toward the disaster relief drive. With the monetary donations, that money will also be used to purchase goods that will go into the containers. So the goal is to fill up a Matson container with all the supplies, any non-perishable food to support folks from the island. I know the date here says collection dates was marked between March 15 and April 29. Because we haven't really collected that much to fill up the container, we kind of extended the date to May 15 would be the last day to collect any donations. And I really do ask, all the folks that are here, if you can please spread the word, share the flyer. I personally really would appreciate any help that we can get.
Thank you, Martina. Yes, I sympathize with you a lot in terms of the need for those of us who also, part of this conversation is really responsibility and how do we support each other in so many different ways, whether it's through monetary, whether it's through, if you have things in your house that does not serve a purpose for you anymore or in any way, please do think about our folks on the island who needs resources to survive, but also to sustain themselves, whether it's through food, whether it's through equipment like batteries, flashlight, or personal hygiene products. This will be an amazing, way to support in different ways for folks on the island. We'll share the flyer and share the direct link to also, they have a GoFundMe request as well that you can give money to, but also you can get more information, or the drop-off location will also be at the on the flyer, which is at the PICOA office at Federal Way, and we'll share more of that information to everyone that has attended today's webinar.
We
Tarita,
have contact information on the flyer for those that have any questions. You can always reach out to us.
thank you. Tarita, darling, advocacy and bringing community together is one of the things that really pushes a lot of the work, and I know in Kiribati you organize the trans pageant or the Bini Binani pageant through Bimba, which is an amazing organization. And we know that in any advocacy platform, whether through pageantry, whether through a roundtable conversation, or even sitting with community leaders and even your own community, to really translate or to transcend really fierce advocacy messages. In a small island like Kiribati, the pageantry has over the years become a platform for a lot of transgender women, particularly, and also the LGBTQI community. Can you briefly, talk about the pageant and how it's become very important in the island?
Okay, yes, Amasai, thank you. And I would like, and yes, the flyers. I'll begin with telling you this the what we call it keen of my people, what they are really interested with or in. And my people are really interested in watching and laughing and commenting. So I think the flyer, workshops, and any other like small group of people or Talanoa, that will not work. So I point out the beauty pageant because it brings a lot of people to watch, and while they're watching, we also educate them the importance of our roles and everything that, like, including our health, especially on HIVs and AIDS, and everything, STIs, and so. For me, I think the easiest way or the fastest way for deliver the messages, it's the beauty pageant. So we held the beauty pageant. We will get more people to come and watch, and we also include the television or the video reporter from camera companies in Kiribati to do their reporting, and from there they can sell out the film to Outer Island, and from there the people from Outer Island can also inside the circle of Tarawa or the main island even. So for me, the main important thing is like we have to put the questions and answers in the beauty pageant on climate change and how they affect our lives. Those kind of questions for the contestant, and the planner or me or the leader for the pageant will arrange all the answers in a right way and give out all the answers to the contestant to memorize it or to study them properly so they can speak the answer correctly and right to the people. Because the beauty is not about competition for us. The beauty is about delivering the messages.
Yeah, thank you. That's really amazing because, a lot of us use different platforms to relate our conversation to relate our lived experiences. Martina, in your work with PICOA, as a wellness navigator, what have you seen in terms of, the different trends within our community that, our community come in and, seek resources because we need resources to sustain our community. But also at the same time, we're seeing the amount of resources that are becoming very limited as well. Now that we are in the post-COVID era as well, funding for COVID and resources started to really trickle down. How do you all still take care of each other in terms of taking care of community till now?
That is right. With all the resources that came about, the COVID-19 has been dried up. We've been here at PICA, we've been basically just reaching out to other resources. We partner up with other resources that may be helpful to the need, or may be able to provide the need for our clients that we're not able to provide here at the headquarters.
Thank you. I think really now is we now want to open up a conversation to everybody that's joining us here as well. If you have any questions and you want to direct the specific questions to any of the specific questions to any of our panelists. Yes, Levy.
Yeah. Can you just please like what I mentioned before, like my people, they don't keen in reading, and that's for your information about the flyers. So my Kiribati people are not keen in reading. So what they keen about, watching and like stressing skins focusing.
So a lot of our people really just like things.
Yeah, I think that, yes, and I will encourage my sister from Duke to join me in the planning the beauty pageants for these coming next maybe end of this year. We're gonna be like setting for the 10th of December. It's a Human Rights Day, and we can I think we can plan on that maybe later.
This is
but
amazing.
we can get the fun
pageantry,
yeah,
bringing people together.
We can get the fun. We can get the fun from the Utopia and from my sister Amasai.
I love this.
Or
one of the things that Terita, Lavita is really, even for us at Utopia, we recently just finished our pageant, the Miss Allen Goddess pageant. We were able to bring everyone together just to be in community. But also, like I said before, using these platforms to really talk about the work and why we as queer and trans Pacific Island people, no matter where we are in the world, we're able to gather, we're able to be with each other in community. And like I said, I'll also open up this opportunity for everyone that's here. If you have any questions or you have any comments for our conversation, to any of our panelists and also myself, I'm happy to comment or to answer any questions if you have any. Well, I'll probably, thinking about their questions, thinking about ways to, be, to join us. And you can drop your questions in the Q&A box that's located down on the Zoom menu. And I think we're able to see that, your questions or comments. But maybe as people, thank you, Jim. And also one of the things that I also wanted to highlight is even within a Pacific Island countries and nations, particularly small atoll islands, who continue to face the impact of really just the nuclear testing, nuclear bombings. I think about islands in Marshall Islands who recently, had the worst impact of flooding. Literally, their airport was halfway underwater. They had to ground all flights. They even have to close down the airport. So it's all of this kind of work that's very much connected to how we survive in the Pacific region. But also, there's also a need of conversation around then who do we need to hold accountable for all of the impact. We talk about countries here in the global north, particularly here in America or anywhere in the bigger countries as well, that the Pacific region, we you know we face the total brunt of the ways that big countries drill into the layers of the ocean and really do a lot of the moving and shaking of really in the name of money and greed, that all these resources that are gatekept by bigger countries like America, let's say that. And I think one of the questions from our partners is, what are some of the ways your island is addressing the decline in coral health? Martina, would you like to go for that question? The question is really how our islands are addressing the decline in coral health that we are seeing, not just in your island, but it's literally everywhere.
Like I mentioned before, I know there's a committee that was formed in the main island of Shook to locally manage marine area to reduce the threats of coral reefs. That's something that another thing is also for them to, what they've been doing actually is trying to limit fishing, trying to limit fishing and just getting access to or even taking out the sea creatures that are necessary to be in the sea to for the health of the sea.
Yeah. Levita, what is some of the work that you see that communities are taking initiatives to protect the ocean, protect not just the way that we are with each other, but also taking care of the water, taking care of the sea. We don't just use the sea to transport each other, but also to feed off. What are some of the initiatives that you see in your community for someone who has worked with community in your island in ways that you address these issues?
Yes, I will like what I will talk about fishermen to let fish the turtle. My people here, they are keen in catching turtles for their ceremony or for their occasion. And the government always encourage them to stop catching turtles because turtles are we call it our policeman, our coral policer.
Mm.
So for me, especially on the the mistake that we made in the water, like ordering many boats, ships. I think I will encourage the government to less ordering lots of boats of like fishing boats in our water because they will affect us. And now, and I believe, and I think the world knows that the protected area in the Christmas Island, in the other side of the Rawa, Kiribati, it's open. And remember, our food we get from the water. So when the fishing boats came to our shore, to our water, they would take a lot more than people can take, or the people manage to take from the water, because our people, they take what they can eat for today and not tomorrow. And the fishing boats, when they came to our water, they take a lot and more fish, and they don't bring to our home. They sell it out. So I think one of my strategy to enter the parliament is stop opening the ocean to the world, because this is our life.
I think that's a really important thing about, I think one of the things that I learned from Fiji as well is, one of the things that they've implemented is sustaining fishing practices. We only fish what we want. And I think that's very important as well. And one of also the thing is like creating marine protected areas, looking at which areas in the ocean that we need to protect. And also promoting coral reef restoration projects. And I think in Fiji, the also beauty about tourism, Fiji is also well known for tourism, but also within these tourist destinations in different hotels, they also have coral planting getaways for tourists. So tourists can come to Fiji as much as you enjoy the ocean, enjoy the beauty of my beautiful island. You also get to do local initiatives like plant corals and do little these activities. And also, young people in Fiji are even now planting mangroves by the seashore. So it's amazing to see all of these initiatives and projects. And also, there's a need to really raise awareness about the importance of coral conservation with your, whether with through your villages or through your island or even through your different communities. And a lot of this is really through all of the great initiatives and collaboration that organizations that you're a part of or even within community can do. And I think one of the other question is if any of you, any of us, have any suggestions that you'd like to share for our community members to help with the climate efforts on a day-to-day basis.
I think for me, it's to build knowledge and capacity around the subject, to spread awareness of climate change within our community, especially to those that are not aware of climate change or don't even consider climate change as an important issue.
Yeah, Lovita? You're on mute.
I want you, your utopia, to find more grants or funds to fight these kind of problems.
And really, that's also our shared responsibility, having to live here in the global north or here in America, it's also our shared struggle. But that's very important in terms of the way that we are with each other and the way that if we know where the resources are, we need to share them. And that's very important as well. I think for me, really, the urgent action on climate justice involved a lot of addressing the disproportionate impact of climate change on vulnerable communities. And I think for me, it's also about naming those vulnerable communities. Who are these vulnerable communities and where are they and how are they building strategies in terms of combating them, we need to take them on. And I also think it's also advocating for policies that promote equity, resilience, and supporting mitigation efforts to really reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. And this is really prioritizing marginalized groups. We need to really invest in renewable energy. We need to sustain infrastructure and holding governments and corporations accountable to their contribution to climate change. And I think there's another question for us. Can you share more about the role of
For us or for you?
I think for me particularly, because I talked about the tourism, um, the role of, for me, tourism plays a huge role in terms of the way that we market our island homes, the way that we
Mhm.
market different initiatives that exist within our islands. But we also need to be aware that when we open our country in the way that we are to market our country islands as a tourist destination, we also need to preserve and conserve um, our what is ours as indigenous people of those islands or land, and also give back in terms of this is things that will sustain, that will come back, sustain our country and the way that we need to sustain our different islands that provide tourist destination to different people. And the the role of tourism on climate is very, very much really, we all have a role to play in the way that we need to share the lived experiences of people on those different islands that provide these services to tourists, that come and enjoy services, that these are sacred lands, these are sacred waters, and the reason why we do this is to conserve all our resources. Hmm. Sorry, and I remember a very close friend of mine was sharing about the way that when she grew up in Fiji, there weren't any refrigerators available then. So every time they go on fishing, when they come back with fish or any kind of seafood after fishing, they can't bring a lot of food. They only have to bring things that will sustain them on that particular day because there's nowhere to store all of this food. So people bring food only to cook on that particular day, and then they can go back the next day and bring as much as they want for that particular day. And that's really around conservation, conserving our resources to sustain us not only now, but really to sustain for future generations that are yet to come. Um, we're still open for question and answers or any comments to our two amazing panelists who have been really amazing in sharing their stories and experiences. And I really also want to highlight that the the impact of climate in the Pacific region that they really have talked about is really it's affecting people uh, inland. It's affecting our waters and the way that we need to look after ourselves and to sustain our families and communities through planting our food that is also giving us medicine, food from the sea to also sustain our health, and everything else that is very much important to all of us as we build on this sustainability and ideas around sustainable consumption as well. And also the amazing work of Levita, the pageantry council, working your way into being a member of parliament, and all of this is amazing work. Um, I think there's another question. Um, when I talk to folks about the impact of tourism on Pacific communities, they become very defensive. How do I navigate those conversations? I think for a fact that the way that we are with each other, as also within tourism, we highlight the beauty of our islands, but we also need to highlight the direct impact that the lived realities and the experiences firsthand that people in the Pacific region are facing. It's no longer a call for conversation. There are facts that climate change is taking its toll on small island countries, whether it through be the rise of sea level. We're seeing even in Samoa currently, families have to change their their roof iron every 8 to 10 months now because of the rise of sea level that are splashing into their homes. But then the tourism plays an important role to us because they bring in a lot of the resources that we need to build our islands, but also we need to highlight the importance of that our countries and our islands are really, building strategies to then also bring in people to learn about our culture, to learn about ways that people are building and strategizing in terms of preserving and protecting our island homes, not just for those that are there here now to enjoy it, but also for future generations and for future tourists who come and enjoy our island shores, but also to be very pertinent and be very mindful that it's also your shared responsibility to come enjoy, but also to always give back to community and to islands or to tourist destinations that you come to enjoy your time at. My nose keeps running. I'm so sorry. My last question to both of you is looking ahead, but also now, is what are your hopes and inspirations for the future of your community, of our community, in the face of with the face of climate challenges that is ongoing? And what message would you like to share with community?
My hope and aspiration for the future of my community in face of ongoing climate change is to build knowledge and capacity around the subject for our leaders in the state and national level to integrate climate change measures into policies and planning. And lastly, for the sake of the community living in the low-lying areas, for the government or the leaders to pay critical attention to their needs as they face poverty and health crisis from impact of climate change. One thing the pandemic taught us is that we are extremely adaptable as people and as society to act quickly and change our lifestyle when we need to. The solution are probably simpler than we think and are already before us if we give ourselves permission to see them.
Are they waiting for me or?
Yeah, so the question is really looking ahead into the future. What is your hopes and inspiration for the future for our community in the face of the ongoing climate challenges? And what would be your message that you'd like to share with everyone? You're on mute.
Thank you for the last for the last question. I'll be quick. Okay, like I will encourage all the people to be prepared to what they will face in another climate change, because I think climate change is part of carte plans. So we have to be well prepared. And with the help of the government, I think the government, I will enforce or empower the government to put the program in the Ministry of Education. So the Ministry of Education can include the education on climate change and put it in like a subject, so that the future Micronesia or Kiribati can learn the importance of climate change in school. I think that's all from me. And for my trans, I want the Climate Change Committee to give me the details and everything, like question and answers, so I can put them in the question, the pageant question here. And that's more powerful to deliver.
Yeah. Thank you so much to both of you for your really hopes and inspirations for the future. And for those of you that are still here with us to support, the amazing work both of Martina, visit pikawa.org to see all the amazing work and services and really the work that they've done so amazingly and beautifully here in the state of Washington, but really connecting a lot of this work on climate and providing resources back into the Pacific region. And you can check out an organization that Navita is part of on Facebook, Bimba Kiribati, and to see the amazing work that Bimba and Navita and others in Kiribati that have done over the years, and also the pageantry, very important conversation. And I think it's always one of the conversation also within the trans community is really using all kinds of platform to be able to talk about our stories and lived experiences. And also to know more about the work of Utopia Washington, you can visit utopiawa.org for more information. And we also have other two events coming up. Tomorrow we have the Adopt the Street campaign, which we usually clean up the street on Central Avenue North here in Kent. And we're also partnering with our Food Access Network to help also partner with us to provide hot food services for community after the cleanup. So that as well. And we also conclude our Earth Day celebrations with our climate summit at Highline College in Des Moines, where we'll also be having a lot of conversations from here, which is really around our responsibility, equity, and really the way that we need to take care of each other. And the amazing thing about the summit is that it's our first ever climate summit here in Utopia, very community centered, and we'll also be launching our community-based participatory survey. This survey is particularly for two-spirited LGBTQI community in the state of Washington, where we really want to highlight the direct impact on climate for the marginalized community or within our two-spirited LGBTQI community here in the state of Washington. And to use this survey finding to really inform a lot of the policy work and things that we're constantly asked by philanthropic institutions on numbers and what are we seeing. So this is really part of the celebration that Earth Day is not just the 3 days or the 1 day, but it's really every day. And to really conclude our conversation today, Earth Day celebration really provides a platform for celebration and to celebrate our cultural heritage, sharing traditional knowledge, and also promoting cultural resilience. And these two amazing panelists have really showcased that. and by embracing our cultural identity and also our commitment to environmental stewardship, Pacific Islanders here in the diaspora play a pivotal role in shaping a more sustainable and resilient and future for both communities here and also on our ancestral homeland on our island. And I also want to take this time to thank all of you, our listeners, for tuning in and for really joining us in this important conversation. As we end, before we end this webinar, I want to also acknowledge and thank my two panelists who were able to share their stories and the way that they're working in communities and addressing this very important issue. If there aren't any questions or any more things from you two, then really thank you so much, Fafitai, Telelava, and Vinakavakalevu. And for those of you that have registered for this event, for this webinar, we'll be sharing out a lot of the information, including a lot of the information and fundraising initiative that Martina is doing to help folks back in the islands. And Levita, girl, that pageantry, let's talk about this pageantry and how to connect both of you to really bring this into the Micronesian community. If there aren't anything else, again, thank you and Vinakavakalevu.
There was a
Thank you
request
so
that
much.
came.
Oh, there's a request, sorry. Levita, you want a photo? We'll send you photos, Levita. Sure, sis.
Sapo,
Tabo Ningabo.
I think you better create a Facebook account for the Utopia.
Oh yeah, we do have a Utopia page. It's Utopia Washington.
Recording
Please
stopped.
walk me in.
Okay, I'll send it to you on Messenger.
Okay, Vinaka.
Thank
Vinaka,
you, Levita.
Aftai,
Have a good
Sapo,
session.
love you.
Bye.